Hello, my friends, and it's good to see you again. And I can't believe another week has come on by. And I would like to have a brief conversation about releasing yourself from toxic beliefs or negative beliefs. And especially with the flow of the river, with the energy that's given to us, not only within this week, but in other weeks too, in being able to create our reality, because our reality is literally constructed from our beliefs, both individually and collectively. But the first thing in being able to identify one is recognizing how certain beliefs can really create negative emotions and limit yourself. You know, they create really heavy and negative connotations about how you think about yourself, how you think about life, and create a whole bunch of toxic emotions and feelings that you might have. And some of you say, Skyfire, I already know the ones, and they just come right to the surface. But what's really maddening is, why are they sometimes so difficult to get rid of? Nobody wants them, and yet we hold on to them. And again, here are a few of my thoughts. One of them is where they come from. A lot of times these toxic or negative beliefs come because they're taught as being the right things to do. So, like, for example, where you're taught that, again, being generous and giving of yourself is the right thing to do, which it is, but if it's taken to an extreme point, then it becomes a point where you can burn out, or that you begin to look for others for approval for your value as a person, for what you do for them versus for yourself intrinsically as who you are. So one of those the big things is right things that go too far, in that way. The other reason why they can be so hard is it's the devil you know. So think about it this way. If you have a belief that you really know you would just love to get rid of, but then you think about, well, I don't know anything else, then what happens is it leads into the idea of, well, I may not be happy, but since this is what I know and I operate within this is where I'm going to remain. And it self-perpetuates this idea of being stuck, that there is no way out, which is completely, fortunately, untrue. The other thing why they're so difficult to get rid of is, I'm going to say, wrongful thinking about how they can keep you safe. So say, for example, doing for others or being a workaholic, that sense of approval or even of being loved. If I continue to behave in this manner, even though it brings me unhappiness, or I feel unfulfilled, or I might even be getting lost, not even remembering who I am, is keeping me safe, because if I continue to do this, I will have acceptance, I will have love, whatever it is that as human beings we crave. And these are three, I would have to say, with talking with many, some of the basic reasons of why we hold on to toxic beliefs and negative thinking, even though we so desperately want to get rid of them. But I would like to share with you some tips that you can use as steps in order to begin to liberate yourself. And the most important thing, just to get the ball started, is defining the negative belief. If you are very nebulous, or you just go wandering off into the weeds, you will find yourself going down a rabbit hole. And I don't mean the fun part of Wonderland. So begin to define the negative belief. And as you begin to do this, the second step that comes from it is acknowledging the bad impact or patterns, behavior patterns that you've instilled in yourself, or maybe taught others. Maybe you've taught others that since you're always giving and you ask for nothing, you have taught them to take you for granted. So what I would beg of you is that as you are doing this self-reflection, release yourself from judgment. So I really emphasize this because this is not fun. This is not fun, but it is so rewarding in the end when you do. So instead of judging, I should have done this, and bashing yourself, just say in honesty, cause and effect. I'm observing this. and treat yourself like you would someone you love or a friend that you're trying to help. You wouldn't be there judging and criticizing. You'd be trying to take a step back and seeing those correlations as objectively as possible in order to be able to come to a new direction, which goes for the other thing. Distilling what is you. What do I mean by this? So I'm going to share again something that had come from my childhood, which was the idea of being that A or A plus student, and had to do it, or I had this feeling of not having that acceptance, getting in trouble, so I'm just sharing one toxic belief. So what happened is, instead of saying, burning out from that, which to a degree I did, I kind of hit the wall with it after a while. Still got my A's, but I took a step back and said to myself, getting A's or being the best of the best of the best, it's, these are outside artificial need for confirmation of myself. What do I want? What do I like? And when I sat down and I reflected without the emotional attachments to it, I said, you know what? I love learning. It's why I'm taking up videography. It's why I'm taking up the different things that I'm doing. I love learning. And with that, I acknowledge that it's okay to throw myself into uncomfortable situations initially in order to learn. And in my heart, if I give my best, I can be at peace with this. So it doesn't mean that I necessarily ignore, but I went from this idea, this outside need for affirmation, that if I didn't get that acknowledgement at work, if I didn't get that A plus at school, if I didn't get this, I would feel really miserable that somehow I had failed or I was not worthy. Craziness, absolute craziness. But sat down and I distilled myself from this, where the idea of, I do love learning. This part is me. I do love giving my best. This is me. And that I want to give my best and be at peace that there's some days, there's good days, some days there's bad days, and to keep it real. So with that comes the next step, which is redefining or sometimes replacing a value. So in my example that I'm giving you, the desire to really want to do and give your best is not a bad thing. But I had to redefine it from these outside sources of, I'm going to say, validation, to coming back to my heart and saying, in my heart, I know I did my best. Maybe on the outside, the best result didn't happen, but instead of taking it as a hit on my value, my worth as a human being, I took it realistically as, it just means the places that I have to get better. I know a lot of you are laughing. It's like, well, yeah, of course, Skyfire, what else would it be? But this is the way that negative beliefs work. So once I did that, I changed it. An example of replacing a value would be the case of where you don't matter. That unless if you give your everything, then you don't matter, then obviously that's a case of replacing a value and putting another one that is, which is the idea of balance. My life and your life are equally valid and important and need to be appreciated. So this is an example of that. But a lot of people just kind of get stuck there. So the next thing is to create realistic affirmations and actions. So there's a lot of power in positive thinking, but initially you can feel a little bit like an imposter. If you're trying to just do the 180 of, oh, I care about what everybody thinks and how well I do, to, oh, I don't care what anybody thinks. And in the beginning, that's going to feel very fake. And sometimes the other extreme isn't good either. But say, you know what, I'm going to become, and that's the magic word, I am becoming more confident in myself. Every day I am becoming more beautiful in my way of being. Every day I am aspiring to do my best and love myself and am patient with others. I will remain patient with others no matter what. So keeping realistic affirmations that you can grow into and following them through with baby steps. small, realistic actions, because you are literally, at least from a red road standpoint, you're learning to walk your life in a different way. Because for the vast majority of us, these toxic or negative beliefs have been with us for a long time. So allowing yourself that learning curve, allowing yourself that, again, following through with my example, do I still get really grumpy if I don't hit it right the first time? Yes. But because I am allowing myself that learning curve, the extra step that I put in is, if someone who I love or care were trying to learn something, would I, not say something to them if they were treating themselves that harshly? And my response would be, I would not let them treat themselves that way. I would let them sit down and realize that they're trying something new. To be patient. It takes time. So this is a good way of doing it is again, small steps, small actions, realizing that when you start applying the new way, some of the old emotions might come up, but then you begin to not have it be an all or nothing situation. You are being able to put it in perspective in its place. The final, and I think very important step for this, and in a way, this final step is critical in order to grow and to maintain as a lifestyle, because that's what we're shooting for. We're not shooting just to solve a problem or get over these beliefs for a little period of time. We're looking to be able to finally be rid of them, to break the chains that are holding our neck, and to live more freely. So the final one is being around positive people, and depending on what you're working on, receiving appropriate support. So what I mean by positive people is not people that are artificially happy or what have you. These are people that, even in the roughest of times, can help keep it real, can see the benefit that can come from hard time. When there are good times, to celebrate them and to make them stronger. They reflect back to you your good qualities, and if they're friends or true family, true friends, they remind you of them when you can backslide a feeling saying, oh, I'm not worthy, blah, blah. And they remind you, stop. That's not true. So when you are there with these positive people who are honest, down to earth, uplifting, you're giving yourself the best possible way of being able to grow. And again, reflections back, creating a good lifestyle. And if it's something a bit more profound, then you can couple that with appropriate support. Get a counselor, a spiritual teacher, whomever it is that you need, that can have the professional way of looking at your problem, the belief, the situation that created these beliefs, so that you can go forward in a strong and healthy way. So my friends, I hope this has given you food for thought, and realize that this is an opportunity for liberation of that which has held yourself back with, and the manner by which to bring in something that you can go forward into the future and grow and flourish in a wonderful way. So as always, I am so grateful for you to be here, and I would beg of you to keep the positivity going. I am always grateful to those of you, if you could like, comment, or share. I will get back to you, with the comments. I always love listening to you. And please, I ask of you to enjoy building your lives in a beautiful way. Remember that you are beautiful. You came here to give to this world the light of who you are. So that, from my heart to yours, the brightest blessings. Wanishi.